Live from the Export Beer Garden studio, this is the Agenda podcast for Wednesday, the 20th of March.
The Agenda, an alternative commentary collective podcast.
Third day in a row, we have walked into the studio lane and been accosted about our fielding performance at the G-Lux Tradies 11 on Friday. When will this end?
It's a hot topic. It is a hot topic, but I think it's a topic dear to a lot of people's hearts, and that is middle-aged sports failures, which seem to become thick and fast when you're middle-aged.
Yes.
But also got a lot of younger people having a go as well, which affronts me more.
Yep.
People in the kind of early 20s are like, yeah, you guys suck.
Well, ironically, it was the guys in their early 20s who sucked the most for us.
I know.
In the shape of Joel Harrison.
And our winners, Max and Kurt. I
Yes.
think they were in their probably mid-30s, but early 30s, but younger than me.
But in good nick.
Yeah.
Max had a touch of the Ben Sears about him.
Yep.
And so we're going to institute a training regime next year.
Yes.
There's going to be 11 weeks of training, 1
Yep.
week for every drop catch.
Yep.
Everyone has to make 11 consecutive catches before they leave training.
Yeah. That was what happened when I was at school. I had former CEO David White, New Zealand Cricket, who was our coach.
Oh, yes.
He was a PE teacher, terrible PE teacher. And he was also, but I think he was mainly brought in to coach the first 11.
Did he do a good deal with Abu Dhabi on behalf of you guys?
Yeah, he's done real good since. He's come good. But his rule was you had to take 3 catches in a row before going home.
Oh, yeah.
But they were full changers, and I mean he's a squat individual. He had massive forearms. This is only probably a few years after his playing days.
Yeah.
And he would send these changers skywards, but you had to do 3 in a row before you go home. And there were some guys out there, poor Scotty Morrow, who suffered from a case of the crocodiles. He couldn't help that crocodile, which made our skin crawl because every time he misjudged one, it looked like his fingers were going to snap off. He was there till about 7 o'clock at night one day where Dave White was just chuffing out changies. Mr. White was sucking up the changies and Scotty was just dropping them cold.
It's one of the funniest things ever. I have such a clear memory of Robbie McKenzie, who's looking at one right in the sun.
Oh, no.
And so he's had to move his hands out of his way so that he could see the ball. And he's just standing with his hand up. It didn't move, and it just hit him in the forehead. And it was like, it's burned into my memory. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It would have made a great noise as well. It would have had a donk.
He just crumpled in a heap. There was also the time that Miles Medlicott at cricket practice, he was wicket keeper, and a rogue ball just popped off a stone or something on the pitch and hit him in the head. So he goes down. He was just on the verge of getting knocked out. And then the coaches took him down about another 10, 15 minutes behind the stumps. Someone else picked up the gloves. Thick top edge. And while Miles is still sitting on the ground, bang, right in the back of the head again. It's like, and the only all we knew about concussions back in the day was don't let them go to sleep.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, because everyone gets dopey, and if they fall asleep, they might never wake up.
Yeah.
So you're constantly going, wake up! You're like, fuck, I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, we had we were batting one day in Fairley, and we had one of the opposing team got slaughtered out the field. He come and sit with us while we were batting, and our whole thing was don't let him go to sleep. We didn't know this kid, but every time he'd start does it, hey. We're not about to watch a kid die out here. 2 hours away from anywhere. So it looks like we've got a pretty grueling training regime coming up, and as we should.
Yeah, well, it's 12 months out.
Yeah. Get a while to think about it. The Shape of the Game Forum, Lane, this happened last month, only a couple of weeks ago now. World Rugby has been considering some radical changes to the elite level. This is what they come up with, and there's a few of them.
Okay.
So I'll go through them with you, and you tell me whether you like them or not.
Yep.
Lowering the tackle height.
Don't like it.
No.
No, the reason I don't like it is because it's a very vague.
Yeah.
Because I know in junior rugby on the North Shore and North Harbour now, it's below the nipple line.
Have they got a hoop on the jersey? Or no?
Yeah, they kind of do, yeah. But now it's kind of around the waist only, which is, it's quite, I mean.
Also, once a team gets to a certain level, around the waist only is not going to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to concede a try almost every, because there's going to be so many offloads.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in rugby league, they have to tackle high.
Or is that what they want? I don't know.
More offloads, yeah,
I know,
more footy.
But for me, you're putting your head in places where it's going to get smacked a lot more. Hips, knees, feet.
Yeah, and this is
most of the time I got knocked out in rugby was not from receiving a head high. It was from receiving a stray boot trying to tackle someone, or a stray knee when trying to tackle someone.
Or Eli Edmonston and I clashed heads around the back of an opposing fullback who then went on to score while we were both concussed on the floor, which is one of the more humiliating aspects of my career. But yeah, you're so right. And it's a weird sort of situation where if you've got the ball in hand, you can bunt someone in the head as hard as you want.
Yeah.
But if you're tackling for some reason you can't, it's another one of those weird sort of rules.
We talked about it. If you got the ball, lead with the head.
Yeah.
Because if your head clashes with a tackler's head, they're off.
Well, it's only a matter of time before someone finds a big enough psychopath who's willing to stick their neck in the way when someone's trying to clean out a ruck every single time, and you'll just get penalised.
I think that person, I'm just got a vibe, would be South African. They strike me as that kind of goes, Kobus, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, Kobus.
Yeah, I'll do it. And just sticks his head in front of other people's heads constantly.
They just sit him down and go, look, you're otherwise not going to make this team.
Yeah.
But you could play for the Springboks.
You are dangerously stupid as well, so you're not going to get any dumber.
No. And also, like, what other job prospects do you have? What your talent is you've got a strong neck.
Yeah.
And so we want you to risk that neck in the line of duty. So, yeah, lower tackle height.
Yep.
I don't know. You're not in on that. Reducing the number of replacements. Shortening the bench.
I'm ambivalent on that. I don't know. I don't think our bench is that big anyway.
I think they are. 7 players is a lot.
Do you think?
It's essentially a whole new forward pack like the South Africans have been doing. I don't really know what the ramifications of fewer substitutions are.
Yeah, I mean, and then you start getting in the vagaries of you can only replace someone if they're injured, and then we get a situation like at the Dulux Tradies 11. I don't know if you saw that in the final match. The opener was going very, very slowly. And
he retired hurt.
And he faked an injury because he was getting yelled at from the sideline. He'd scored 20 off 40-odd deliveries, and he couldn't get it off the block. And then he was at the non-striker's end, and he went down by holding his knee.
Did see that, yeah.
He seemed to be fine after the aftermatch and everything else, didn't he?
He did.
Anyway,
yeah. Okay,
so yeah,
suspicious.
but that is, I know that you need replacements for injuries, but it's like, well, how do you determine that? Is it only for injuries? Or do you just only have 4 reserves? But then again, do you risk players playing when they're injured? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It does seem to me ridiculous that you can bring basically a whole new team on. It seems like NFL, you can bring a like offense, defense sort of thing going on.
I think maybe if you're going to do that, you need to restrict the positions. Maybe you can only have front rows and outside backs. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. But then again, someone's going to be like, yeah, Damian McKenzie's a front rower this week. There's going to be a little bit. It's going to be squirrely.
But he has to play. But he has to put down the scrum, and he's not going to do that, is he?
I think if you go 4, but you have rolling subs, so you can come off, you can come back on again.
Oh yeah, okay.
That might be the way around it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Anyway,
role of TMO to be investigated.
Oh, yeah,
everyone's in on that one.
Yeah.
5-second count to use it. So when the ref says use it, they've got 5 seconds, and if they don't, then it's a turnover straight away. This is to stop the human centipede.
Yeah. And you talking about the human centipede box kick?
No, the rolling over for a try, because how many times do we see they just stop and they're like 1 and then it stops?
Yeah, but I suppose
2.
with the use it, is that because they say that's your 1 when the maul stops?
Yes.
But if it's continuing to move forward.
So I think what's going to happen is when it stops, they say use it, you've now got 5 seconds
cool.
and go.
Yep.
Yeah, hookers to maintain what they're calling a full break foot to aid scrum stability. So I guess what they're saying, or they're inferring, is that hookers are taking both their feet off the ground to try and inadvertently collapse it? I don't know. This is the dark arts that I don't quite understand.
Yeah, because if they're taking both feet off, that smells like a broken neck to me if the scrum goes down. Because if you're caught with your legs in front of you as a hooker and the scrum goes down,
it's a broken back.
Yeah.
That's happened.
I think scrums just full stop are a bit weird.
Well, there's so there's a couple more about the scrums. We'll get to those in a second. Water carriers cannot talk to the refs.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Are they doing that?
Apparently they're chirping the refs, and there's no rule against it. So now they're going to say, well, water carriers, you cannot come on and say anything to the refs.
I'm going to say water carriers beat it altogether.
100%, particularly if we're going to have, because in the hotter regions, they'll have a drinks break.
Yeah.
Every 20 minutes.
It's like cricket. Cricket's the most hydrated sport of all time.
Yeah.
The bowlers have drinks down at fine leg and third man.
Yeah.
Then every hour, everyone has a drink. The guy at first slip and gully has done fuck all.
Yeah.
He doesn't need a drink, okay? He doesn't need a drink. And after an hour, do you need a drink? Come on.
Nah.
Not really?
You'll be all right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Ofa Tu'ugafasi is going through Ramadan at the moment. He hasn't had a drink at all. Removal of scrum as an option for a free kick. Again, this is signalling we don't want scrums.
Yep.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with that. A free kick's a free kick. Should we tap and go?
Yeah, that's right. The only thing I will say is you can call a scrum off a mark, and that is one of the most powerful moves I've ever seen in rugby, is taking a mark in your own 22 and going, we'll pack down a scrum here. That's such a big...
I've never seen that.
I've seen it once, I think at the World Cup. It was probably like South Africa against Romania or something like that.
Were they looking to to kind of gobble the clock or something?
Must have been. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, this is such a fuck you to the other team. We're going to pack down a defensive scrum rather than just kick it. And then they, off the back of the scrum, kicked it anyway. They are going to outlaw the crocodile roll. So this is the one where someone's over the top of the ruck, you come over the top, grab them around the waist, and then roll off to the side. And the issue with that is too often people are getting caught by the neck, and it's only a matter of time before someone gets their neck twisted off.
Yeah.
So they're going to bin that one. And then shot clock is to be extended from kicks to scrums and lineouts as well.
Okay, so for the scrums, is that if it collapses, goes back up again? Collapse? What's that?
That would that's an interesting
reset?
point. Does it reset the shot clock if it collapses? No, surely not. If it collapses, you've just got much to consider.
I don't think lineouts
aren't dicking around.
No, they aren't dicking around because
it's an advantage not to.
Yeah.
But with the scrum, so what would happen if it was just, let's say, for example, it was a 20-second shot clock. You've got to get there. You've got to pack the scrum down.
Oh, I see.
And then maybe it's just until the feed.
But also, whose responsibility is it, and who gets penalised? Because if it's your scrum, Manaia, and I'm the opposition, and the shot clock starts, I'm going to be diddling around.
Yeah.
And then milk that till, and then you get penalised and I get the penalty?
I'm going to pack down with 1 second left to go, and then you've got 1 second to feed it. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. They do it in league, but that's different because they don't contest rugby league scrums. I've also never seen the shot clock enforced in rugby league. They have one.
Yeah, I've seen it on the screen.
Yes.
I've seen it pop up on the screen, but that's about it. This is great. This was a week's worth of conferencing for the shape of the game, and I reckon I could have done at least 80% of these. I could have come out with myself.
Yeah. Well, we've been doing it on this podcast for years now.
But it's going the right direction.
It is.
The Super Rugby this year, and I've said it before, I'm not getting paid to say it, has been the best for a number of years.
Yep.
World Cup gave me a lot of PTSD around rugby and around where it's going with the TMO and everything like that and the ball and play.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, in that game, there was a game in the weekend, they didn't have a scrum until the 37th minute.
Excellent.
So, great. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going the right direction. I think it's just going to make sure that it actually rolls out globally, and it's not just the Southern Hemisphere that's playing the footy, because Northern Hemisphere, end of the day, won't care as long as they win the silverware.
Yeah, and they've got big enough numbers over there that people are still watching it, and it's still, even if they don't care how shit it is. I mean, that's a hemisphere that watched drop goals dominate for about 20 straight years.
Yeah, totally. So
tries scored.
It needs to be rolled out. Otherwise,
100%. I completely agree with you. All right, let's have a quick break and we'll be right back. The Masters, Lane, starts April 11th, which is very soon.
Yeah.
That has come around very, very quickly. And the traditional winners' dinner is coming up. So every year they have a dinner that you can only go to if you have a green jacket.
Do you wear the green jacket?
You'd have to wear the green jacket, wouldn't you?
Surely.
You'd all wear the green jacket. If you'd won it more than once, would you wear 2 green jackets?
Can you bring a mate? So if you win it, so Tiger Woods can bring like 3 mates and they wear his jacket.
Yeah.
So +1, +2, +3.
And he just brings 2 of the local waitresses from the nearest Hooters to sit at the Masters dinner.
But he's won.
Yeah.
So you can't challenge him.
No. This is one of these great traditions that that golf has, you know. Obviously the Masters, all of the history around that. And the winner last year was John Rahm. And because he was the winner last year, held out Brooks Koepka, he gets to pick what's on the menu for the dinner. And so he has gone through and he's bringing Guernica peppers, grown in a town in the Basque region of Spain where he grew up.
Yep.
There'll also be guildas, which he described as an anchovy skewer with peppers and olives, and a lentil stew, which came from his grandmother's recipe. Isn't that beautiful?
Fuck, I hope they've got other options. Because it sounds like he's coming in hot with some real Spanish delicacies that aren't necessarily going to float a lot of people's boats.
He even admitted that. He goes, these are probably not going to be people's favourites, but, this is where I'm from. This is the cuisine. And it made me think, if you won the Masters, or let's say Tiger gives you one of his jerseys and bins one of the Hooters girls, what would you put on the menu for your Masters? Because I think I would take it as an opportunity to really, really just test a few people. I'm talking Kinner. I'm talking cream power. I'm talking I'll chuck a hoo-hoo grub in there. Run the wee hoo-hoo grub ruse.
So you're looking to shock and also maybe put them out of the Masters?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, 100%.
Imagine that. Goes, this is Kinner. And you're like,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and where did that come from? New Zealand? How did you get it here? It took 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
It's going to be tough to get Kinner over there as well, because I've tried to send a live Kinner through the New Zealand Postal Network and they will not accept it. I also tried to use...
How did they know it was in there? Was it just leaking?
No, we rang them to ask if we could do it. And they were like we classify a Kinner as a live animal and you can't send live animals through the New Zealand Postal Service. So.
What if you could kill it? Could you it's out of the water. It's dead, isn't it?
No, well, these ones are still alive that we were going to... Okay. Well, because we wanted them to be fresh when they arrived. This was when we were doing the Great Radio Hauraki Kinner Surprise, which was you ring in and you do a quiz and you either win a prize or you win a Kinner. And we had a wheel that we spun to decide whether you won. It was like tickets to the Foo Fighters or a vinyl or whatever. Or one of them was also a Kinner. And the dirty secret is we blue tacked a weight to the back of the winning wheel so it always landed on Kinner. But we were undone when the New Zealand Postal Service wouldn't let us send live Kinner through the postal network. So we turned them into keep cups. You can use a Kinner, a half a Kinner, as a keep cup.
I saw that. I saw you put a coffee in it. That's right.
Yeah, we sent young Finn over to the coffee shop, and they filled 2 halves of a Kinner up with a flat white. They even did the little latte art on top. There were love hearts in these Kinner. So there's a few different ways you could serve up the Kinner. I could give them a flat white. Maybe you could serve a dessert in the Kinner.
Do you actually like Kinner?
No one does. I don't think so. People do, but not for me.
Toppers is a good idea.
Yeah.
Imagine, especially if there was a Italian. I don't know if how many Italians have won the. I think is it Molinari is about the only Italian golfer I know.
Yeah.
But they would be disgusted if you said this is a lasagna topper, and they're like, lasagna. Yeah. Where is the lasagna?
I remember we had an Italian exchange student at high school, and the first time she saw spaghetti in a can, she was outraged.
I'd say so.
She was almost brought to tears. She's like, "This is not a spaghetti." And then she went over to the tuck shop, and there was a panini in there. She's like, 2 problems. First of all, this is not a panini. Second of all, panini is plural. This is panino.
Jeez, I mean, and then someone would have put that spaghetti on a pizza as well
for her birthday. For her birthday, we brought out a spaghetti pizza,
and then just to finish her off, just when she's about to finish herself, someone rolls out a lasagna topper.
Yeah, she did not finish her exchange.
Going home.
Yeah, she did. She went home early. She's like, these guys have got all. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Kinner, mussels, power, bit of whitebait perhaps.
But whitebait would be quite a hit, I imagine.
Yeah,
because that's actually quite delicious.
Yeah. Fish and chips.
Yeah.
Or is that more of an English thing?
Yeah, it's funny because fish and chips here is very different to fish and chips in the UK. Fish and chips in the UK is go to a chippy and it's very, very different.
So is whitebait. Have you ever ordered whitebait in the UK?
No.
They give you the whitebait we eat is the
inanga.
The young. Yeah. But they go out to sea, then they come back as like a actual proper fish. Yeah. That's what they serve you in the UK.
A proper fish.
It's fucking disgusting. I was like, they got whitebait on the menu, mean. And then 3 proper actual
fish.
Yeah, fish came out. I was like,
we prefer to eat the adolescents.
We eat the babies over where I'm from. Are you getting any of the babies? Can I cut? Do I cut these ones open and then they got the babies in them? I don't know. Disgusting. But I thought that was be quite interesting to see what we would bring as a Kiwi to the party. It's Ramadan.
Oh yeah,
I know you're observing, Lane, as well as Ofa Tu'ugafasi, who is observing Ramadan. He's about halfway through. That's no food or water from sunup to sundown until April 10th.
Yeah, and and I tell you what, once the sun goes down, they have iftar, which is basically a massive feed.
Yeah.
And when I was living in the Middle East, I mean, it's very hard for athletes. I don't know how they do it because I know that Sonny Bill is the same. It must be difficult.
Yeah. Kyrie Irving's doing it in the NBA.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ofa Tu'ugafasi is. The bloke weighs 122 kilograms.
Don't worry. They make up for it because when that sun goes down, when I was in the Middle East,
That's on.
they would feast, I reckon, for about 6 hours straight. So, and they'd stay up most of the night.
Yeah, right.
And then they'd sleep all day.
That's a good way to do it.
Most of them would do it. That's how a lot of my Muslim friends did it over in UAE.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you're supposed to do it, but it's certainly how they did it.
It's a loophole.
Yeah, and it was quite strict as well. You weren't allowed,
Oh.
as a European, you weren't allowed to be seen to be eating or drinking during the day either, even though you didn't need to be practicing. So there was always a room that we could go to have our lunch, and they'd black out the curtains, they'd black out the windows, and they'd put a sign up saying, and we'd have to go in there to drink water. I had a friend who got caught drinking water in the car during Ramadan, and he got pulled over and hauled in.
They beat the soles of his
Yeah,
feet.
they didn't beat the soles. I think it was more of just an educational thing. But I can completely understand why, because if you are fasting and then you just see some Western pig sitting there tucking into his feed, you'd be like, can you just do it somewhere else? Why do I have to look at that? I'm starving. They do make exceptions though. It's not like if you break it, you die. I know that there was a couple of football players over in the UAE who were during a tournament.
Yes.
By their local imam was given approval to break Ramadan, but they had to make it up after, you know what I mean? Like there's a certain amount of days and they had to do it afterwards.
All right, you get your grand final coming up this weekend. You can have this week off Ramadan, but once you finish the game, you got to make good.
Yeah.
Because Allah's keeping watch over this.
Yeah.
Ofa reckoned I can go without food. I did 10 days without food in the lockdown.
Yep.
I was just lying about in the hotel, so that part was easy to manage. But my weight stays the same throughout Ramadan. When it gets really hot, going without water can be the challenge. That's the only issue that he has with it.
Yeah, well, like I'm saying, I don't think weight is an issue because when I say sun goes down, it's all on.
Also, he plays rugby at night.
Yeah.
So he can drink water during the game.
As soon as the sun goes down, I guess. I mean, it's getting darker at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
But it hasn't been recently. I mean, it's still a little bit light.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe in the second half he can drink water. You really want to target Ofa in the first half if you're playing him. And the Crusaders are this weekend. We need to go at Ofa early doors before he can get into that.
I didn't know he was Muslim. Is that a recent thing? He's always been Muslim. Right.
He's always been Muslim.
Oh.
And he's done the last 5 seasons for the Blues. He's done Ramadan through there as well. As you mentioned, one through the lockdown where he had to go 10 days without food. I think he's the first sort of Kiwi athlete of note since, like you said, Sonny Bill.
Yeah.
But there's, Mo Salah's practicing as well. Kyrie Irving in the NBA. Enes Kanter, who used to play with Steven Adams, he was doing that as well. It's always a mind-boggler when you're like, this guy's exercising for a job.
Yeah.
And he's not even drinking water. But we've just found a hack there. Most sports are played at night. We should schedule an afternoon game for the Blues. We should bring the old Crusaders Blues game. You know what? I'm not scared of them. To some sad news today, Lane. Aryna Sabalenka's boyfriend, Konstantin Kolstov, has tragically passed away of a blood clot at 42 years old, far too young. He was a former professional hockey player with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He represented Belarus at the 2002 and 2010 Winter Olympics and was also a coach of the national team. Sabalenka is still training, and she intends to play at the Miami Open as well. So I just thought it was very sad news.
That is very sad. You got anything to do with it?
What are you implying?
Just throwing it out there. Blood clot.
Hard to prove.
You know what? Yeah, it is.
Very hard to prove. I don't know, man.
What do you got to say for yourself?
But Belarusians pass away from mysterious circumstances all the time. Like, I'm not saying I don't have anything to do with this. Putin may have some problems with certain people. And look, do I benefit from this?
Do you think Putin's got a wide on for Sabalenka and he's whacked him?
Only if he's seen her, yeah. I reckon he'd have a massive wide on for her. Anyway, this has set the stage for one of, the Netflix directors will be absolutely jizzing themselves over this.
Yeah.
If she goes, because she's going to still play in the tournament.
Yeah.
Because what else are you going to do, She's going to play in it. If she wins this will be like the next, what's the tennis one called? serve or something.
Full swing? No, that's
golf.
Point break.
Something like that. Break point or point break. One of them's a surfing movie. Anyway, the next season of it will be Breakpoint will be out the gate. If she plays in this tournament, she wins. Comes out that they assassinated him. The whole thing. This is going to be great. So I just really wanted to pass on my condolences to the wider Sabalenka friend group. And look, if you need a shoulder to cry on, I'm always here.
Half-baked sports idea.
You okay, then? I had to, in that break, I just had to come over and give you a bit of a cuddle, just make sure you're okay about that sad news.
I'm just wondering if I'm now on some sort of hit list.
100%. Okay, sorry.
Let me get into my rundown here. Sometimes, Lane, the sporting news just falls into your lap. Sometimes people do your jobs for you. And this week, Jerome Hughes, Cam Munster and Ryan Pappenhausen of the Melbourne Storm have done my work for me. They have come up with their own half-baked sports idea. Fellas, please.
What about this for a thought? Finals, NRL, 3-game series.
Shorten the season to play one team?
Yeah.
Like you play them once?
Yeah.
And then 2 or 3 game?
Yeah, 3 games, best of 3. It would be pretty cool having a 3-game series. Or maybe just the GF is a 3-game series.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you think it would work in a contact sport having a 3-game series?
That's a great question. Firstly, what was going on with the music in the background of that? It's kind of quite jolly, wasn't it?
They got a bit excited about it,
yeah. I don't not like it. You know what I mean? I find the idea of it quite interesting. But is it only the grand final series? Obviously they do it with State of Origin, but they have 2 or 3 weeks between each game.
Yes.
So do you stretch out the grand final over 3 weeks?
Because what sports have this? Basketball have it, baseball have it. I think ice hockey have it as well. Well, they're all 7-game series.
Yeah.
Now, 7 games that's fine when you can play every other day.
Yeah.
That series will only take 2 weeks tops. But when you have to take a week's break in between each game.
Look, cricket should.
T20 World Cup.
T20 World Cup should be a 3-match series.
It should, yeah.
And they just play them back, bang, 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 1, 2, 3 over 3 days.
Yeah.
That's a sport that can do it. I'm not so sure, particularly league. League is so punishing.
It's brutal.
Physically brutal.
And what happens if, say, we make the grand final and at the end of the first game, Sean Johnson gets his head taken off, and now we're going to win, another game or 2.
And it's some kind of second-rate player who took his head off who takes the suspension. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that.
You don't think that's got legs?
No, I don't think so. I like their thinking because it would create even more hype and drama around the grand final. But for the other teams, it would suck because you sit there for 2 weeks and watch a grand final unfold. And what happens if it's a dead rubber? You don't play the third. You don't play the third. Yeah. Unlike the State of Origin, you always play the third,
which is hard to do because you're also competing with other sports for these stadiums.
Yes,
so then it's like
I guarantee you can't just put pencil book it.
Yeah,
you're paying the money. You put the deposit down.
You can't pencil book a 100,000-seater stadium. Yeah. they want pretty definitive terms. So I don't know if it'll work, but this was 3 Melbourne Storm players proposing it, so they obviously think that they can do it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess they're the players.
Yeah,
they would know better than a couple of couch potatoes.
Yeah, but I wonder if 3 weeks would just drag on a bit for the casual fan.
Yeah, I think it would.
Potentially.
Even State of Origin drags on for me.
The dead rubbers are bad.
A little bit, but they have sparked an idea around cricket, T20 especially.
Yeah,
should be. Do you know what? With T20 cricket, I reckon you could almost play 2 in one day. You could play back to back.
You could, yeah.
I don't think it's that draining.
No.
These players are playing 50-over matches, test matches.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you can potentially back up, although they wouldn't.
No.
You can definitely the next day.
We were about to have to the Dulux Trainees 11, so if we could, although to be fair, we probably couldn't.
Yeah.
All right, just before we knock this on the head, we do have a couple of listener-submitted feedbacks. We call this segment Yours Please.
Yours Please? Brought to you by Leader, home of the lasagna topper.
Caller number 1, Yours Please.
Yeah, g'day fellas, Bert Bainers here. Hey, just been crunching the numbers on your wastewater survey treatment, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, looks like squash clubs don't plumb into the public lines. They must be on a septic system. So if there's an anomaly in the numbers that is looking extremely low, I think there's where you look. They would easily pump those numbers up for you, lads. Thoughts, please. Love, bless, bless.
Pretty sure they're talking about the semen count.
So, so obviously the wastewater came out and it was who drinks the most, the wastewater testing, and then we thought, let's find out who the biggest wankers in the country are.
Yeah.
Let's test for semen in the waters, in the wastewater. And he's saying that potentially there could be a discrepancy in the numbers because squash clubs have their own septic tanks, and as we know, squash clubs are actually just a front for swingers clubs.
Yes.
So he's saying that a lot of it could be lost to the wastewater sample.
Oh, okay. So people with septic tanks, how are we going to do that? That's a good point.
Is someone going to have to go around and take samples out of septic tanks?
Yeah, I think so. Or you get the honeysucker to go over there. Have you seen the honeysucker?
Yeah.
The guy has to go over. And look, not being sexist, it's always a guy.
It's always a bloke.
Who goes over and is a honeysucker and has to attach that big pipe to the top of the mushroom, removes the mushroom and goes... It just sucks up about 20 years of shit, semen, and whatever else is in that septic tank.
Yeah.
So, look, I mean, obviously in the wastewater, it's only for wastewater treatment plants. So, I mean...
If you're doing it into the sea,
yeah,
waterways, tributaries.
Yeah, but I mean, look, we have to go what we've given, and that
That's
is
right.
wastewater treatment
That's
plants.
right.
If you've got a septic tank, you're getting away with murder. Okay, we know who you are, squash clubs. But your good point.
We'll look into it. We'll add that into our methodology for this study. We'll get another one here. Call it yours, please.
Manaia Stewart. The comment about football or fucking soccer or whatever the hell it wants to be with this Auckland FC shit. I couldn't agree more. Pack of pansies. Look at us. Fuck all those cunts. You know, just rugby or fucking whatever. Not the soccer shit. All right, that's enough from me.
Uru. Jeez, I mean, is that a relation of yours or just a mate of yours? Or did I hear you in the front seat of that car? Pretty sure I could hear you. I felt your presence in the front of the car.
Well, like I was saying yesterday, I want to be on board with this Auckland FC. I wanted to get on board. They play at Mount Smart. You know, I'm out there every other weekend anyway.
I reckon you could be turned because this year is Euros. And Euros are always great. I love the Euros because England are forever trying to win it. And they forever fall desperately short.
Yeah.
I think you're going to get, and it'll get you behind football again, and then we'll get you over.
Well,
you just need to park the Azuros for a second.
The thing is, it's hard to get into a sport when you're not from where any of these teams are. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. I follow the NBA, but I don't have an NBA team. I've never been over there. I've never been to any of the places. That's why I think football's never really resounded, particularly for me. Now, all of a sudden, I've got a team at Mount Smart where I spend a bit of time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, perfect, this is great. And now I find out they want to call it the fucking shrimp tempura, and then they're going to do planned pitch invasions. You know, and I was like, oh, fucking, this is why. This is why no one can get in behind you.
Football's a bit different, though, because think of the amount of people in New Zealand who support Liverpool or Man U or Everton, and they've never been there.
Yeah.
Like Jason Pine's a great example, ZB host. Massive Liverpool tragic.
Right.
For no apparent reason.
Yeah, see, again, that turns me off.
But that's very football, though. And when I was living in London, you always got the question, who's your team? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah, you might as well pick one.
Yeah. And that's why most
living over
Kiwis picked Fulham because they lived in Fulham.
Yeah, right.
So then that had a huge Aussie-Kiwi fan base.
Yeah. The most I've ever been into football, I was in the UK for one of the World Cups. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that goes off.
Yeah.
That's why I think
lost
Euros.
every game.
I think Euros, but Euros is good because England win a few.
Yeah, right.
In the World Cup, they are up against it from the get-go.
Yeah.
Whereas they always tend to qualify for the knockout rounds. Remember they made the final last time?
I sure don't.
They made the final last time. It went off. Auckland went off. Everyone was like, because I was rooting for them as well.
I do remember this.
I was rooting for them because I was like, they fucking don't win anything.
Yeah.
Especially football. And they loved it so much. I think, did they get beaten by... Who did they get beaten by in the final? It might have been Italy or something, but they got robbed in the final. I remember, but...
I do remember this. There was like a pre-party at Shapiro's.
Yeah.
A lot of people were sort of showing up to work pissed because the game was at like 6 in the morning or something like that. Yeah. Okay, right. Well, I'll get involved in the Euros this year. I'll pick a team, follow them all the way through, but I will not get involved with Auckland FC until they rebrand the fans, let the fans decide how they want to have fun and stop doing bullshit publicity stunts. And until then, I'm
What
out.
about a free shirt?
Well, it wouldn't kill them. All right, reach out, Auckland FC. We will be back tomorrow with another episode of the Agenda podcast.
You've been listening to the ACC's Agenda podcast. For more episodes, subscribe on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.